Summer is almost over, just about a week left, and I always like to try and get some ribs done before summer is over. Usually it's pork ribs, baby back, something like that. But today, we're going to be doing these. Beef ribs. Yeah, people call them dino ribs, or basically beef chuck short ribs that are long. I've seen them called lots of things, but they're going to be good. So let's go ahead and get these seasoned up because, yeah, it's going to be tomorrow. These are going to soak in that seasoning overnight so I can start early in the morning. They're going to be terrific. Now these, I actually removed the membrane. Usually on beef ribs like this, I don't, but I just decided to do it today. If you don't know how to remove the membranes from ribs, I'll put a link in the video description to a video I did on that. Really simple. The process is basically the same between beef and pork ribs. Sometimes the beef ribs can be a little bit tougher, that membrane's a little thicker, but same process, you just got to work through it. Now I do want to put a little bit of a binder on these. There are some dry spots. And what I'm going to be using is a balsamic vinegar glaze. So it's really thick. This is from Trader Joe's. I've never used this as a binder before. I think it'll bring some nice flavor, so let's do it. Get those edges rubbed too here. I always find balsamic vinegar goes great with beef dishes, so this should be interesting. And the rub I'm using today is Meat Mitch Steer Season. Some on our back side here, the bone side. Get our edges. Trying to use just one hand, so I have one gloved hand that hasn't touched the meat. Trying to keep my shaker and everything clean. A lot of times I will actually wrap the shaker in some plastic wrap. I did a video on that. I'll put a link to that one too. It's just a really convenient way to keep your shaker clean so you don't have to worry about touching it with hands that have touched raw meat. Also want to say thank you to those of you who signed up for memberships on my channel. I really appreciate the support. That's looking good. Now I want to get a rack under these so that they're up off the bottom as they soak in that flavor, and if they sweat, they're not just sitting in any juices. All right, these are going in the refrigerator, and tomorrow I will see you out at the grill. Guess which grill I'm going to be using. I mean, you'll probably know by looking at the thumbnail and maybe reading the description, but I'll surprise you tomorrow. All right, the Lone Star Grillz is up to temp. My target today is 250 degrees. I really want to try and dial it in there for these beef ribs to give them kind of a nice long smoke. I'm burning a mix of hickory and post oak today. I'm just going to alternate splits. Got water in the cook chamber. So let's go ahead and get our beef ribs on. All right, we're gonna get this closed up, let these get smoking, and we'll come back in an hour, see how they look, and see if we need to spritz. See you back here in about an hour. All right, we've been going 1 hour. The temp has really wanted to go to 275. This pit likes 275, so I've had to play with the vents, and when it gets tough, just use smaller pieces of wood, not a full split. I'll use chunks if I need to just keep that temp even and lower. But let's see how our ribs are doing. I cannot complain about the look of these ribs. They're looking fantastic. That color is developing nicely. You can see the bones are getting a little more pronounced. The meat is starting to pull back a little bit. We've got hours and hours and hours to go to really get these to the tenderness that we want. And really, on cuts like this, you don't want to rush it. But we are looking a little dry, so we're going to go ahead and spritz, and I'm just going to use plain water. I get asked a lot why I use plain water instead of a mixture of, say, apple cider vinegar and water or something like that. I have used that on occasion, but really I'm just trying to add moisture here to the surface. I'm not trying to add any other flavors at this point. So plain water works great. But let's get this closed up, keep smoking, and we're going to come back in another hour and check and see if we need to spritz again. See you back here at the 2-hour mark. All right, we've been going 2 hours. The sun finally came out today. Let's check these beef ribs. Oh, wow, look at those. Starting to get our pull back here, the meat pulling away from the bones. But once again, we are going to spritz. It's looking a little dry on top. I could not be happier with these at this point. They are looking fantastic. Now I'm going to close this up and we're going to come back in 1 more hour. And at that point, I will do a probe for tenderness just to see how we're coming along. All right, we're at the 3-hour mark. Now, we're going to just probe for tenderness to see how that feels, but really what I'm looking for to decide to wrap is the color and the outside, the texture. So if it is ready to wrap, then we will wrap it, but I do want to get sort of that first hint of our tenderness. I'm really liking the looks of these. The color is fantastic. So we'll do a quick probe here. Feeling pretty good. Yeah, still a little resistance, but you know, internal temp 147. That color, the texture on the outside is spot on. We're gonna wrap these. First thing I wanna do is wet my butcher paper here. I want to give the paper a spritz here too. I want there to be plenty of moisture as these continue to tenderize and cook. Now, we're going to leave these for 3 hours. We'll come back then, check for tenderness. We'll probe through the paper, see how we're doing. And if they're done at that point, they're still going to rest for another hour inside in a foil pan, just covered with foil in their butcher paper. So I'm going to close the lid and I'll see you back here in 3 hours. All right, we have been wrapped for 3 hours. We need to check for tenderness now. Let's see if these are ready to just go and rest for that final hour. Get through that paper and see how we're doing. Oh, that feels, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are tender. These are gonna go in a foil pan covered with foil, still in their butcher paper wrap. And they're gonna rest for an hour just sitting on the top of my stove. Nothing's on, it's just to sit there, slowly tenderize a little more, come down in temp, and in about an hour, we'll open them up, cut in, and have a taste. Well, here we are. Here is one of our racks of beef ribs. That color, exactly what I wanted. Really great pullback from the bones, that meat pulling back. Again, this was 6 hours out on the grill, an hour resting on the grill. We did 3 hours unwrapped and 3 hours wrapped. In that time, I burned 8 pieces of wood, and I use short quarter splits. They're about 10 inches long, and they're quarter splits, so it's kind of like a half split cut in half. We did pretty good holding around 250, had a couple spikes to 275, but I was able to bring it back down by, as I showed you, using chunks and just adjusting the vents as necessary. But let's cut into our ribs here. Oh yeah. Now let's cut one whole rib here. That is what I'm talking about. Good smoke ring on there, a lot of juice. Now for tasting, I could go all caveman on this, but I'm just gonna cut a piece off here. Oh, just look at that. Really nice and hot still too. Go ahead and cut some pieces here. Might as well get right to it. Here we go. For me, beef ribs have some of the beefiest flavor you can get in a cut of meat. Especially when you do these bone-in beef ribs. There's just something about it. It's such a rich, deep beef flavor. You don't have to do anything else but add a nice rub, give it some good smoke. I mean, if you want to put sauce on it, you can. I don't have anything against that, but kind of just for a plain, pure beef flavor, this is perfect.